Good afternoon, everyone. This is Debbie Marks with Fireside Chat with Debbie Marks. And today I have the distinct pleasure of speaking with Chris Borja, and he has led such an interesting life that I feel as though he has the ability of connecting with all different levels of people in networking, even authors. So Chris is an award-winning speaker, trainer, consultant, and he's a best-selling author on the topic of business networking. For the first 37 years of his life, Chris suffered from extreme shyness, introversion, and a fear of social settings. You'd never know that now, that's for sure. Now that he has overcome these challenges, Chris is on a mission to create better networking, stronger businesses, and connected communities worldwide. He is founder of Become a Better Networker, the connected networking group Networking Breakthrough Academy, which I love, and CEO of Borja Virtual Conferences and Events. Chris is the author of the best-selling book, Networking Essentials for Success, which I have a copy right here, so everyone can see this. And let's see, 7 Essential for Success, a 7-step journey to achieve your goals through authentic relationships and connected communities. Chris's presentations are highly interactive, which Sally and I both have experienced, and provide an experience that'll change your perspective on networking, increase your business growth, and improve your relationship in all areas of life. And I have experienced one of his events, and I could see firsthand how he connects with the audience, but he really helps the audience connect with themselves and help them create their mind, get their thoughts flowing. First off, Chris, is there anything you would like to add to the bio that I read?
I think that's good. That's a great start. That's a lot of stuff already.
Yes. First off, before we get started, how did you start your what's the name of it again? Your online. Oh, that is terrible. My mind just went right out. You have set up your own studio, and that's called Broha. What could you just give a brief description of how you started that?
The Borja Virtual.
That's it. It was right there.
Yeah, so those are actually virtual events, and of course now hybrid events that we host, and we serve different organizations, from nonprofit organizations looking to do a fundraiser, or other organizations that are looking for engaging virtual experience for their audience in addition to the in-person. So we'll do both virtual and also hybrid, where there's a little bit of both components. But that really started from trying to find a way to continually innovate and create connection opportunities for our networking group. So even pre-pandemic in 2019 is when we first started going virtual, before COVID hit and everyone was forced to go online. So it was very fortunate for us that we had some experience in creating engagement online. So when COVID hit and we were forced to go online with all of our events, we couldn't meet in person, then we were already positioned for that. And I just reached out to different organizations and offered to help for free. I just said, hey, if you need help learning how to go virtual, we'll be happy to support. We've figured out how to create engagement and some cool platforms that we can use. And we just started helping other organizations, and eventually many of them started saying, if we don't really want to learn all this stuff, can you just do it for us and we'll pay you to do it? And I had no idea what to charge at the time. It was new territory for me and everyone else, the whole world for that matter. But it turned into a company. We started serving, starting with smaller events, and it started growing bigger and bigger and bigger, and turned into global events. And we still travel today and do hybrid events around the world.
I saw on Facebook where you shared your latest travel experience, and I got to tell you, you and your wife, you had to have come home with the feeling that you just experienced something that not a lot of people get the chance to do. You saw so many different places. You met so many new people that it helps a person realize that they're not just stuck in their own little room. They actually have the ability to reach outside of their box worldwide. And you really achieve this for those that are looking for it. Because like Sally said, you put that thought and she took it to the next step. And again, she stepped out of the box, created two new experiences for people. And, she never really thought, she probably indicated to herself that this was places she needed to go, but she found the way to do it. And that has to be a great feeling for you to know that she was able to accomplish that just from that one networking event.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you have 7 different interactive and experiential. That's a tongue tie. Sorry. Would you first explain? Sorry. Unlocking sales success through authentic networking. Would you just explain that?
Yeah, and just like you shared with Sally, she was able to take an idea that she learned in one of the talks or workshops I did at one of the chambers locally, and turn it into something that actually helped her business. And I feel like everyone has that. Oftentimes people look at networking as part of a sales strategy, and usually they think of it as a way to generate prospects, which it can and does. However, it's a very small way to look at networking. It's so much bigger than that. And we all have the ability to serve and support and help and create greater results for one another by being part of a community. And with what most people have learned in marketing their business or working for their company or whatever they're looking to accomplish, usually it's through a prospecting lens. And they'll look at networking as a way to meet more people, to be able to eventually meet with them and do a pitch. And some will, some won't. So what next? And let's talk to the next person. The problem with that mindset is that we will run out of people to talk to very quickly. If you're trying to get in touch with 50 people a day, and then tomorrow you need another new 50 people, and next day you need another 50 people, and you run across, how often do I follow up, or should I be calling new people? Should I be calling the same people? And it just causes a dilemma, and it's exhausting. People in some kind of sales or growth capacity never have a chance to rest. But with networking, what it truly is, it's really simple. It's really just about building relationships with one another. If we can authentically connect and build a relationship, we're now a lot more open to share resources back and forth. And each and every one of us has a ton of resources. And the resources, not just that will be a potential client, the resources are a lot of different things, including our knowledge, our skills, our talents, our passions, our connections, our finances, our perspectives, our compassion. So all of these different things are ways that we can be a resource to somebody else, but most people never get to all those because they never got to even build a relationship to start. So in learning how to network from scratch, networking is not something that I'm naturally good at. It's not something that I was born with the ability to do. As Debbie shared in the introduction, I spent 37 years where I literally hid from situations and played small and avoided things that would have helped prosper me and other people around me, but I didn't feel confident. I didn't know how to reach out. I didn't know how to build connections. I didn't know how to reach higher level people to where, your reach can be expanded. And so after learning how to do that over the years, I didn't start networking until 2012, which is 11 years ago from my first event. But then a year after that, started my own networking group to be able to create an easier environment for people like me to meet others, and a place that we're truly about community and not so much about the transactional business. And then a year after that, I realized that most people just never learned how to network. They're taught to sell, but not taught how to actually network and build relationships and community. So over the years, I had become more and more proficient at it. And then I had to slow down and say, well, if I was to help somebody brand new, what steps would I take them through? And it took me 5 years to actually write the book. I started the process in 2017, maybe a little bit longer than that, and just launched it this past March. And that's the book that you shared, Debbie, is Networking Essentials for Success. So in there, that's where I have the 7 steps, or the 7 steps in the journey for someone to accomplish their goals through networking. And it's so much more than just getting comfortable with networking, but there's a whole series and there's a sequence that helps people to achieve success through connections and relationships. And if you want, I could share and break it down, or if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to jump in and answer those now.
Well, if your one networking strategies for sales excellence, could you share how, in conjunction with what you were just sharing, this is?
Yep. So for somebody to get sales, any product or service or good is, it doesn't matter what it is. Most of them are pretty tough to sell if we're all honest, right? Everything is tough to sell, especially in today's day and age where the salesperson is no longer viewed as the expert in most cases. Online search or chat GPT or a Google search becomes the expert. Like that, we can, if you're looking to buy a car in the old days, the salesman was the one that knew all about the car, the horsepower, the reliability of the car. But oftentimes the customer can go into a dealership and know more about the car than the salesperson, because they've researched, they've looked at all the consumer reports and all of the reviews and all of the pros and the cons of this car and what are the trouble spots. So they probably know more about a particular car in most cases than the salesperson. So that whole dynamic has shifted to where the salesperson is the expert. Most people go to an online search first. So what that means is that it's even more important to build rapport and relationship to achieve success in sales. And the way to do that is to be able to reach more people and to not sell, but to serve and to provide a solution for somebody who has a need. So using that same analogy with a car, if somebody has a need for their family to bring kids to soccer practice, then the salesperson at that dealership needs to find out what that need is, build enough rapport to find out what that is, and be able to point them in a direction of some really good options for them and let them select which one fits best for themselves and their family. How important is the horsepower? Maybe it has nothing to do with that. Maybe it has everything to do with how many people it can seat or what the fuel economy is. So it's not really so much about selling anymore as it is serving and providing a solution. And that's what the 7-step journey is based on, is giving people something tangible to where it's not just about, do I feel comfortable talking to strangers or sharing what I do or presenting or all those kind of things. So we start off with helping people understand that clarity is the very, very first step of knowing exactly what you do, who you serve, how you serve them, and not just who your ideal client is because you can serve their needs, but also who are some people that can regularly connect you with that potential client, that person that has that need. So that's the first step, is having clarity. The second thing is a lot of people have anxiety over this thing called network as much as they have anxiety about selling or presenting or standing in front of a room. It produces a lot of anxiety when people are either uncertain or not sure. So having the right mindset about what networking is, and the way I define networking is that it's simply building relationships so that we can share resources and create win-win situations. So that's really all it comes down to: build relationships, share resources, and create a win-win situation. So in this situation, it's not about selling somebody something, but providing a need. For example, the family that needs a vehicle that fits 7 people because they got kids and maybe they bring their kids' friends to practice or whatever it is. The third step is getting all their systems and tools in place. There's so many tools and systems nowadays and softwares that make it easier to connect than ever before in the history of mankind. And we can do so many things now that are automated, even to where it acts as our virtual assistant, to where electronics and software can simplify processes like booking calendars for us. Instead of having somebody manage our calendar, we can literally send somebody a link and they can pick a time that automatically synchronizes with our existing calendar, and they can pick from an available time without a manual process involved. Email programs. There's social media where we could literally stay present in front of thousands of people with just a few minutes or maybe an hour or two maximum per day, and literally have communications with thousands of people at a time. So everyone has access to their own broadcast studio that used to cost, probably tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars back in the day. But everyone has a full studio, recording studio. They have podcast studio. They can post videos. They have a studio right in their pocket in the form of their phone. So social media, those are all important. And there's so many different events too, to where we can meet people in person. You're talking about chamber events, local networking events, various associations and organizations, where people can not just go as consumers, but serve and become an active part of the leadership, an active part of building that community. And in the process of doing that, gaining visibility and influence and building trust with the other people in that organization. So instead of just meeting people individually, we can literally meet dozens and dozens of people at any given event. And then from there, it's just building relationships, knowing how to stay in touch, whether it's the coffee meeting at the local coffee shop, or if it's a one-to-one phone call or a Zoom call like we're on right now. The world is a smaller place. We don't even need to drive to meet each other. I mean, there's 4 of us here that are probably separated by, several hours or dozens of hours worth of driving if we all had to meet in one location, but we can just click a button and here all 4 of us are on this same exact call, with ease. Like we can all be here for the exact time that we're meeting, and then we can go back to what we're doing. So many opportunities to build relationships. So that's the step 5. And then step 6 is building a personal brand and personal community. The reason that's important is because to get to that 7th step, Debbie, is to create winning collaborations and partnerships. And people might conceptually understand that that's where they want to go, where they'd love to have a partnership to where they can continue to grow. But the problem is that most people haven't built a brand to where someone would want to partner with them, or they haven't built a community to show social proof that they're trustworthy with somebody else's community. So when you're asked to get into somebody else's community, whether it's through an endorsement, an introduction, or just welcoming them literally into the community, they're going to want to see some proof and some social proof before they let you in. And the analogy I like to use is that if somebody asks to borrow your car and they don't have a car, or they drive a beater that they don't take care of, you're very hesitant to hand those keys over because you don't know what they're going to do to your car. They haven't proven that they've taken care of their car. But if your friend has a car that's the exact same or in better shape or better condition than yours, you're more likely to hand the keys over and let them borrow it if they needed it for some reason. And it's the same thing with a community. If they see that you have a community, it automatically builds trust because it shows that you have a community. And oftentimes other people would like access to your community as well. So there's a lot of reciprocity opportunities there. So there's 7 steps that help people to accomplish their goals through relationship building, through this strategy, to where they can create partnerships and be there as a resource rather than as a salesperson.
Wow, you have handed out a lot of information. And, a couple of things that you mentioned, made me think of what was it like back, say, in the 90s, 80s, let's go there, where people had to rely on the salesman knowing, well, and you watch these older programs and you see them going to have to find a phone booth and then have to have the dime or the quarter to make the call. We don't do that anymore. But do you find that there are times where, or do you see where people get too lax in what they're doing and not focusing on several of the things you mentioned that are important in building a relationship? Because I have learned through you that so many people, when they go to an event, all they have in mind is, who can I talk to, who can I get, and nothing about finding out about them or how you can help them. You just want to get them. Could you go into a little bit deeper, kind of what you train on for helping people with that?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a great point that oftentimes people do things that they don't like themselves.
Yeah.
So going to an event with an agenda, with a bunch of flyers in their hand, and the intent to give out a flyer and a business card to everybody, because look at all these people here. If I give them every single person, one of them is going to be interested and they'll call me. But if you're one of the people that's receiving the flyer or the business card and somebody didn't really have a conversation with them, just put it in their hand, we don't like that. We don't appreciate it. Look at email marketing. How many times people will just push out cold emails and just pitch everyone, or they friend request you on Facebook or LinkedIn, and here comes the pitch. And oftentimes people don't realize, and they end up doing it themselves, but it feels different when it's them, and it's their thing that they're promoting. So a lot of it really starts with awareness and awareness of how are we perceived by other people, and how do we like to be treated, and making sure that we do that for others as we would want done to us. And I think that awareness goes a long way. And, if you're talking about a live event where people are meeting face to face, imagine what it feels like if somebody truly cares, if somebody actually is there and is actually actively listening and actually interested, and not just listening to find that opening to switch the conversation around and insert what they really wanted to talk about, or to really get into offering their products, or sharing their own pitch. People see through all of that stuff, but they don't realize when they're the ones doing it, but they can see it when others are doing it. So I think just taking a step back and having some self-awareness goes a long way, because we know how we like to be treated. We know that, but oftentimes, we end up forgetting that when we go out to meet other people.
How true. I mean, like you said, we go out with the mindset that we're going to see who we can get, but then, and you fail to remember, you don't want someone doing that to you, because it's uncomfortable, and it has the effect on some people that, all these people want to do is get me, and so I'm not going to go. And then the person, that one person you might meet, you won't, because you've come with this mindset. When I've been to you have a lot of, I don't want to say games, but you put these into like up experiment, and you have many ways for people to look into what you're asking them to think about, and all of a sudden they come up with a different perspective of, wow, I never thought about it that way. And so what are some of the techniques that you use to help people create or generate thoughts to move them out of, take one more step forward, such as Sally did?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is to get them out of their um their current thinking process, get them out of their minds and just get them to into a more natural flow to where they're not overthinking and trying to manipulate the situation. So that's one of the things is I'll create activities and exercises to where people will learn, for example, how to network and to gain a lot of self-awareness, and just putting them in a situation and making discoveries and having these big aha moments as a result. So, for example, all of us have been through school and at some capacity, at some level, of schooling, and the way they choose to teach us, and all the way from grade school all the way up through college, for those that went to college, um, is not how most people prefer to learn. I mean, most people learn best through a little bit of everything, and experience, hands-on, seeing, hearing, feeling. All of that stuff is one of the best ways that most people learn, and that's why they say experience is the best teacher, because it involves everything. So what I try to do is to create experiences for people, because if they don't take notes, and it's a traditional training where it's just say, here's a list of things to do, here's like 50 PowerPoint slides of what to do, what not to do, it's not going to make much impact, because if they didn't take notes, they don't remember any of it. And if they did take notes, they don't look at their notes. I mean, they don't look at their notes again anyway. They just keep them. They literally keep notes, but they usually don't review notes. But if people have an experience, just like every single one of us had experience, that's very difficult to forget experiences, whether it's a good or bad experience. We rarely forget experiences. So in teaching people how to network, how to connect, I like to create experiences for people to where they can't forget it, whether they take notes or not, or whether there's no way they couldn't pay attention because they're involved in the activity. But I usually disguise it to where people don't really know what they're learning. They're just doing the activity. And then afterwards, I like to break it down, and then they realize what they just did. So one of the activities, like you said, that Sally went through, I did an activity with a scavenger hunt to where people had to find others in the room that fit certain categories. And one of the lessons that comes out of that is just a fun activity. People enjoy it. There's lots of energy in the room. People are smiling, laughing, discovering things about each other. But when we bring everyone back together and do a breakdown of the activity, it really does simulate and mimic what happens in real life, which means that the first person that they'll go through the scavenger hunt activity with is the person next to them. Then next is the people at their table, and they'll go through every single one of the 10 questions on there with each person. And that's what we do when we're out in the real world. We start with the people that are closest to us first, and then the next closest to us, which is like our table mates. But in real life, it might be people that are a little bit further away, but still close to us. But eventually we realize that the people that we're currently in touch with aren't the people we really need to meet, or they don't qualify, or they don't fit the things that we're looking for, which might be the products that you're offering. The people aren't you're going to be your customers for one reason or another. So we need to expand and go to other tables. We need to expand and explore in other circles of people. Now, as time starts to run out, they do something that they don't realize they're doing, which means that they start collaborating. They start asking for referrals. They realize they only got 2 minutes left and they've still got all these people in the room that they haven't talked to. So they'll typically start asking each other, hey, who fit this category? Who fit this category? Which basically means they're asking for a referral in networking language. They're asking for a referral. And then there's also lots of people that have an answer, and they're sharing those answers with others openly. So they're happy to give referrals. They love helping and providing a need for others. They're like, hey, this is the person that fits this category. So when we all come back together and break this all down, they realize that it's not that difficult or mysterious to ask for a referral. And it's actually fun for people to give a referral. But the disconnect is that oftentimes we just don't build a relationship to where we can ask a referral, or we know what somebody needs to where we can give a referral. And we might have had it the whole time. And that's part of the activity is that this particular one, there's, I don't think there was a black belt, if I remember correctly. I don't think there was a black belt.
There wasn't.
No black belt, right? So there's no black belt in the room. So there's like, I don't know, about 40 or 50 people ballpark, and not a single black belt. But then I asked another question. I said, how many of you personally know a black belt? And about a third of the room raised their hand. And if you look at it, that's true for all of our products and services, that maybe out of 50 people, not a single one wants to buy something that we're offering, our products, services, or goods. But if we just ask, who do you know that could use something like, and then fill in the blank of whatever you offer, whether it's travel, whether it's healthy products, whether it's financial services and insurance, then all of a sudden it opens up to about a third of the room that can be an asset, that can be a resource. The problem is that most people don't talk to them if they're not going to be their customer right away, and they're missing out on the bigger opportunity of 15, 20 people that could potentially lead to a client through a referral. So those are the types of activities that I like to put people into, where they learn it, they get it, it's eye-opening, and it's a fun way of getting to that takeaway or that result.
Yeah. I know Sally will agree with me that that networking event was very, very interesting, because I gained new friends, and that's what you go for. And it was interesting how that little challenge created the atmosphere where everybody was doing everything right, but they didn't realize it until they sat down and you went back over and asked these questions. Then you go, oh, well, that was easy. I mean, I can do that. And maybe not every time, but it's something that a person, if they just start doing one step at a time, before they know it, they've achieved all of what networking is about. And that they can reach more people. They have the I don't want to say equipment, but that's basically what it is. That they can improve their business. They can also improve relationships, not only out in the public, but personal relationships. So everything that you share and teach has the ability of helping a person create a better life for themselves. And I have found reading your book and taking your classes have been very eye-opening for me personally. And that's why I wanted to have you come on today, because there are a lot of people out there that that need this. They need your information. They need your help. And even though they don't admit it openly to anyone, they just keep it bottled up with inside of themselves. I want to encourage people to watch the recording of this, because if you've never met Chris, you begin to realize he has your best interest at heart, and he wants to help you grow in your business, grow in your personal life, whatever you need. In the way he teaches and shares with you, you can pick and choose, create what you hear, and you can move forward. And I am just so grateful that you have been able to come on today And I will say that your networking breakthrough academy is has become very instrumental for me. And I would encourage anyone to look into that. But Chris, is there anything that you would like to share with anyone that is here today or will be listening to the recording?
Yeah, absolutely. And whatever you have that you're offering as your, as your company or your business or whatever your mission is, and that you're looking to get out into the world, is that if you think beyond what you're looking to share with people, and think of the bigger picture of what happens when you truly network, is you create a community that continues to feed and fuel the fire, and it creates its own firestorm. So when you prospect, it's a sorting yes or no, and there's no connection, no ongoing relationship. That's where you run out of people. Building a community, every single person you meet gets added, and every single person that everyone in your network meets gets added to your network. So it grows exponentially, and you have people that will take your call. They won't ghost you. You have people that'll respond to your email. They won't just disappear and pretend they didn't see it. You have people that'll engage with you on social media. So it helps you in so many different ways, and it's fun. And I think in today's world, we need it more than ever, because our world, our society has divided us in so many different ways. And I look at networking as so much more than just a tool to grow business. I look at it as a way that we can cure a lot of things that are happening in our current society, about the division and the fighting and the people that are, if you're not believing what I believe, then you're the enemy, or you're part of the problem in this world. It's just that people have a different perspective. But if we slow down and step into somebody else's shoes and understand, why do they feel like this? Why do they, it gives us a whole new level of compassion and empathy for others. And one of our slogans is that we're all connected. Diversity is our strength, and we're better together. And I feel like that's really what it's about, that we can create so much more, not just for ourselves, for us to win, but we're creating a community that everyone gets to win, or we can create as many wins as possible as we build these relationships. So I want to leave everyone with that thought that, we are all connected. If we talk long enough, we're going to find some connection points, commonalities, people that we know, or somebody that we know that is in common. We want to embrace each other's diversity. We don't want a football team of all quarterbacks. We're in football season, so I'm going to use that analogy. If they're all quarterbacks, we're not winning a championship. We need different size players. We need a big lineman. We need maybe a smaller, faster running back. Maybe we need a taller wide receiver. So we have different, we have diversity on the football team is what makes a football team great. But having, all-star level quarterbacks all on the same team doesn't work. So many people want to only hang out with those that are like themselves, which becomes problematic, because it limits the diversity, which limits our ability to all win. And the more diverse we are, the better our resources for one another become. So that's what I'd like to leave everyone with, that thought that we're all connected. Diversity is our strength, and that we are indeed better together.
Thank you, Chris.
Perfect.
Sally, do you have any questions?
Nope. I'm just glad to see you again. I'm glad you're feeling better too.
Yeah. That had to be very interesting to deal with COVID. I mean, I think of everything you do on a day-to-day basis. Wow. That was quite an impact.
Yep. Thankful to be able to be home for that, and not have to go anywhere. And that was really helpful. That was nice.
Well, okay. Chris, would you just, for the recording purposes, would you give us your website?
Yep, absolutely. Just go to www.chrisborja.com. So that's just my first and last name spelled out, CHRISBORJA.com. And I have a gift for all of you, whoever's watching or listening. If you go to chrisborja.com, you can actually get your networking IQ score. So that's an assessment that we created from scratch. And what it's designed to do is to help people quickly identify what their strengths and opportunities are, to help them become better networkers faster than ever. So we start off with that tool. you could get your score for free, and it gives you a breakdown afterwards. You'll also have access to pick up a copy of your book, learn more about the Networking Breakthrough Academy, and also some of my services for corporate consulting, where I work with teams and organizations from the top down and really implement and integrate networking into everything they do, from recruiting all the way through to internal team building, all the way through to their outreach and sales departments. So really looking to integrate networking in everything that they do and fully utilize the resources that everyone brings to the table.
Yes. And I noticed you are a member of the Westerville Chamber. So
Yes.
if anybody's interested or near the Westerville Chamber, you can go and meet Chris in person at least once. And yeah, he has a whole list of things that he's involved in. I'm very impressed, but I know that he's worked hard for those, and he just didn't stay in his room to accomplish that. So, Chris, I want to thank you for joining us today. And for those of you that are going to be listening to the recording, if you have any questions, please reach out to me at Fireside Chat with Debbie Marks, or you can email me at debbiemarks54@yahoo.com. And with that, I will say goodbye to everyone today. And everyone have a good rest of the month, and we'll see you all next month of October. Oh my gosh, where has the year gone?
Yeah.
Take care, everybody.
Bye. Take care.
Bye, Sally.